Well, now I've said it once and I'll say it again. And I'll say it until they bury me 6 foot down. Well, farts will never not be funny. It's a universal language of comedy. Well, but sometimes they're more than just a sound. They're more like a tactical weapon. Well, the other day, Grace Ann and myself, we were at let's just call it the Big Blue Store. You know the place. It's the local supercenter where you can buy a set of all-terrain tires, a head of lettuce, a drill, a blender, bungee cord, a new grill, makeup, hunting gear, fishing gear, jackets. Now, Jay, they know where you're talking about. All in one place. So we were standing down towards the end of the tool aisle looking for some wire cable for a project. And about that time, the spirit moved me. And by spirit, I mean a low-frequency rumble that sounded more like a cold diesel engine trying to start up on a cold, snowy day in the middle of January. Well, I didn't even miss a beat before the sound could finish echoing off the linoleum. Well, I looked straight at Grace Ann, wrinkled my nose, and just let out a good loud, "Grace Ann, that was freaking disgusting." Well, she just stood there, mouth open, processing the sheer audacity of the betrayal. Well, let me tell you, and I didn't stick around for the rebuttal. Well, I started walking off feeling pretty proud of the frame job, but then it gets worse. Well, it got better. The aftershock hit. Well, this wasn't just a sound anymore. It was a physical presence. Gross. Well, we're talking a pungent, heavyweight aroma that just exited my body like a vengeful ghost. Well, I'm talking a smell so thick it would make a zombie turn tail and run the other direction. Well, it was the memory of a late-night border cantina coming back to haunt the living. Well, and as I'm making my getaway, I look back at Grace Ann, and whom is just standing there, and she's trapped. And right as I clear the corner, this young, well-dressed couple, looking all innocent, comes strolling right into the blast zone. Well, in my head, it looked more like a horror movie, this thick green fog rolling down the aisle, and these poor souls are just kind of walking up right into it. But then, they just stopped and stared at Grace Ann, and their faces, contorted, twisted, confused, disgusted, priceless. Well, I knew right then, beyond the shadow of a doubt, they 100% thought it was her. And me? Well, I was already halfway to Sporting Goods whistling my own little tune. Well, now you'd think I'd learned my lesson after the Supercenter incident, but that week I was on a real fourth meal kick. Well, I'm talking maybe 3 or 4 times. 9 times. Or 5 times that week that I went to that place with the big bell that's open till 2 a.m. Well, and let me tell you that my internal chemistry was basically nothing more than a hazardous waste site. Well, and at that time we had a little mini Doberman pinscher named Aurora. Tiny little thing, and every night she would get into the bed, crawl under the covers, and tunnel her way down to the foot of the bed. Just a perfect little foot warmer. Well, so we're all tucked in bed, and those multi-beef, bean, and cheese-filled tortillas start doing what they do best. Expanding. And I let one rip, and it wasn't loud, but it was heavy. I say that because Aurora, and whom at the time was still tucked under there like a subterranean explorer, needed a fresh breath of less methane-filled oxygen. Well, we start to see the cover start to move. Kind of looks like a cartoon of the rabbit that tunnels underground, but all you see is the ground moving from where the rabbit's tunneling. Aurora's little head starts bobbing under the blanket, mildly freaking out, and she's just clawing her way towards the pillows. Now, I've always wanted the Dutch oven, Grace Ann. I believe it's a bucket list item for any husband, but I really like being married to this woman and not sleeping in the shed. But a dog? Why not? Well, I saw my opportunity as Aurora got closer to the exit, and I pinned down the covers. Now, I didn't hold them down long. I'm just a semi-jerk, not a complete monster. Well, I gave her just enough time to marinate in that crunchy wrap taco-based byproduct. Well, when I finally let her out, she scrambled. Well, she was sneezing, wheezing, and shaking her little head in pure disgust. Well, but to be fair, we weren't necessarily enjoying the smell either. When you gross out a creature that licks its own butt for fun, well, then I feel that you've achieved a certain level of greatness. Well, now it's time for the grand finale, which is the most perfect alignment of timing and tragedy that I've ever been a part of. Well, it was indeed a bitterly cold winter day, snow and ice everywhere, and most places were closed, but there was one place where you could go get some good comfort food. Well, and you all know the place. It's got a big front porch with wooden rocking chairs, oversized checkers, a gift shop on one side of the store that sells cast iron skillets, clothes, candles, and candies from the 1940s. Well, we walked in. They said it was going to be about a 30-minute wait. No big deal. Well, we decided to peruse the aisles. Now, keep in mind, at this point, I'm on day 4. This is day 9 of my border-style marathon, and my insides are truly a chemistry set under high pressure. Well, I'm basically just finding the areas of the gift store that doesn't have anybody standing in there, and I'm just quietly spreading my wealth of pressure throughout the place. Just quiet, little bursts. Well, Grace Ann and myself meet back up in the candle section, which is actually just the corner of the gift store, and it smells absolutely divine. Candles that smell like pine, vanilla, lemongrass, lavender, and apple pie. Well, and Grace Ann finds one, puts it right up to my nose, and says, "Oh my God, this smells like cinnamon peach cobbler." Well, and I tell her it smells great, because it did. Yeah, but right as I inhale that sweetness, the beefy nacho cheese fries inside my gut say, "Oh yeah? Smell this." Well, out comes this quiet, slow, warm, heavy delivery, and it didn't just linger, it took up residence. We immediately migrated to about 20 foot away over to the rack of oversized flannel shirts, and when we turned around just in time to see a middle-aged couple stroll right into the candles. Well, now, usually that corner is a sanctuary. Cedar, pumpkin spice, white vanilla, the best smelling 10-foot section in the county. Well, we watched that couple pick up a candle, lean in deep, big, deep breath, and then the recoil. Well, their heads snapped back so fast like they had just been hit with a physical punch. Well, I know exactly what was going through their heads. Well, literally and metaphorically speaking. Well, they were standing there holding the Harvest Sunset candle thinking to themselves, my God, this candle smells like shit. Well, and just about the time we started losing our composure, our name was called to be seated. Well, at the end of the day, life is hard. But farts? Yeah, farts will never not be funny. Whether you're in a supercenter, your bedroom, or the candle corner of a little country store, a well-timed gas leak is the greatest equalizer. But just remember, we'll publicly always pass the blame to your spouse, and always make sure to smile when you do. Because remember, that's your gift to the world. Well, and always remember not to push too hard. Don't force it. Farts will never not be funny, but sharts are only funny to everyone else.